Good day, everyone. I am Jimo Albatausa, and I am here to discuss to you about the changes in the Philippines Constitution. We are assigned with three topics. The first one is the 1899 Constitution, the second one is the 1935 Constitution, and the third one is the 1943. So furthermore, we will be deeper about the topic of the Constitution. So, I'm gonna introduce first my members in this topic. So, here are Trixie Joyce Balberas and Glenn Balante. They are assigned to discuss the 1935 and the 1943. So, can anyone define what is Constitution? A constitution is a set of rules that guides how a country, state, or other political organization works. It is like a rulebook for the government. The rules that is stated in that rulebook will be followed by the government. This document consists branches, powers, responsibilities of those governors or officials. It also has the rights of the people in a country. So, dili lang ni all about the laws, but also ang rights sa isa ka tao is nakalagay diri ano. So, Constitution is also considered as the highest law of land. It is the supreme law of a country. Now, which state now walay makalabaw? Even the president cannot go against it. It is stated that all laws must be followed on what is stated on the constitutions. So, ang constitution is a law of a law. So, more siya the highest law. Highest law siya. Siya ang guide sa pagbuhat sa law. So, in February 2, we celebrate the Constitution's Day. So, going further, nakuha na to kung unsa ang Constitution. So, let us know what really is the importance of a Constitution to our country. No? So, a Constitution can maintain law and order. So, can you imagine a country that has no constitution, that has no law? So, unsa may niyo makuan? Unsa inyo mahunahunan? 'Di ba? Kuan, 'di ba? It will bring chaos. No. It will bring chaos to a country for which na kita mga Filipinos will be the night of our right. An anarchy. When we say anarchy, what does it state? State a society that has no authorities. They're saying that no one will lead a society. So what will happen if no one will lead? It will be a total confusion, right? A total question. So, constitution is very important to a country. To a country that is developing, or to a country that has a main goal like peace. Next is to impose rules and regulations. By constitution, it helps the governors, or the officials to manage how a country must be. It tells them what they should do and what they shouldn't do. So, next is Constitution protects individuals' freedom and rights. So, and for now, it is applied no, not a freedom. Like, makaroon ta sa Facebook, makarally ta, dili ta ginapugngan sa mga governor, no? Kay, we have the right. If natay dili ganahan sa law, sa ilang mga kimabuhat, we have the right. No? You had the right. Because we are an important aspects to a country. A country will not be called a country if we don't exist. So the next is constitutions limits the power of the government. So constitution leads an equality country no for which na walay magpataas or walay maggamit sa kung unsay naa sa ila. So sometimes we can't control that na nagid greedy na officials no na will use the power. So the constitutions made it clear na dapat limited ang unsay mabuhat sa government. Dapat ang ilang mabuhat is para lang sa country. So next is the evolution or timeline of the Philippines Constitution. These are the first three. The 1899 Malolos Constitution, the 1935 Commonwealth Government, the 1943 Japanese government. And the next three constitution is the 1973 Marcos administration, the 1986 Freedoms Constitution, and lastly the 1987 present constitution, which is used up until now. So these are the 6 constitutions of the Philippines, and among these there are only 3 that has a great impact for the changes in the Philippines Constitution. And these are the 1935 Commonwealth Government, the 1973 Marcos Administration, and the 1987 Constitution. Going to the first constitution, the Malolos Constitution. So, before we introduce what is really Malolos Constitution, I will be discussing to you from the history, or maybe when did it happen and why did a constitution is being created. The first one is, since the beginning, we are colonized by the Spaniards. For almost 333 years, we were in their hand. We were chained. So ginawa nilang alipin for almost 400 years. So as time goes by, nabuhat sila, ang Spanish at ang Filipino came for an agreement or a truce. So the Spanish rule agreed that datagan nila self-rule for 3 years if Emilio Aguinaldo will go to an exile. So kung yung sarili. And this agreement is named as the Pact of Biak na Bato. So Emilio Aguinaldo travels or went to the Hong Kong. However, there is a problem with this agreement. They did not trust each other, the Filipino and Spaniards. The Spaniards didn't agree with the amount. And then the Filipino did not surrender their hands. No? Wala nila surrender ng kamot sa Spanish. So after that, Emilio Aguinaldo came back from the Philippines to declare an independence for the country. And it was on July 12, 1898. So, after the declaration of the Independence Day, the US backstabbed us. They want a colony. So what happened? A war will be engaging soon. The Spanish sold us out for the Americans, and the Americans colonized us for a little time. And then, these forced Emilio Aguinaldo to pursue the Malolos Constitution. It is the first republic of the country of the Philippines, and also the first republic in Asia. So, In Malolos, going back to Malolos, it all started in the Barosain Church in Malolos, Bulacan, known as the Malolos Church. It was used as Emilio Aguinaldo's residence office and headquarters. There, he convinced some Filipino parliament and named the meeting as the Malolos Congress. There, he elected some officials, and it led to the president by Pedro Paterno, the vice president by Benito Ligarda, the first secretary Gregorio Araneta, and the second secretary Pablo Ocampo. The achievements of the Malolos Congress are the ratification of the Philippines Independence Day, which was held in Kawit, Cavite on June 12, 1898. So, gikan diri nagsugod ang Malolos Congress after guro ni sa pagbalik ni Emilio Aguinaldo sa Pilipinas. So, diri nagsugod ang ratification or consent or agreement na para magbuo og Independence Day sa Pilipinas. Next is the passage of law allowing the country to borrow money from the banks of the government expenditures. Next is the building of schools, primarily establishing the Universidad de Literatura de Pilipinas. So na yung mga school sa Philippines. Next is the drafting of constitutions of the Philippines. And then, the last achievement of the Malolos Congress is the war declaration against the United States of America. So, Malolos Constitution. It was spearheaded by Felipe Calderon and supported by Cayetano Arellano. They created the Malolos Constitution. It is also known as the first constitution drafted by the representatives of the Filipino people. Now, this constitution was inspired by Brazil, Belgium, Costa Rica, France, Guatemala, and Mexico. Then, the final draft was presented by Emilio Aguinaldo after the minor revisions due to some objections of Apolinario Mabini. As a result, it led the way to the launch of the first Filipino Republic. So, the first Philippine Republic, it was declared on June 21, 1899. The first Philippine Republic was established at Malolos, Bulacan. So, ang Malolos Constitution, it came from where they held the Congress, in Malolos. Emilio Aguinaldo then took the oath of the office after he proclaimed as the president. Ang Prime Minister Dria is Apolinario Mabini, and these are the cabinet secretaries: General Marlano Trias for War and Finance, Teodoro Sandico for Interior, Gracio Gonzaga for Welfare, Maximo Paterno for Public Works and Communication, and Leon Maria Guerrero for Agriculture, Trade, and Commerce. So we are now at the important features of 1899's Constitution. The first one is the popular representative government. The second one is the unicameral legislature. When we say unicameral legislature, there is only one legislator, and it is called the Assembly. And the Assembly is the one who proclaim or announce the president. The third one is the separation of church and state. The fourth one is the Bill of Rights. And the fifth and the last one important feature is the compulsory and free basic education. But this constitution came for a question mark or a problem because of what? because of the war against the Americans. And the Americans successfully colonized the Philippines. So this forced to change a constitution. And the constitution will now enter in the 1935 constitution, which is the Commonwealth government. And it will be discussed by Glenn Balante. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, I am Glenn Balante and today I'm going to explain what are the changes in the 1935 Philippine Constitution. So, what is 1935 Philippine Constitution? The 1935 Philippine Constitution, or also known as the Commonwealth Constitution. First, let us define what is Commonwealth. Commonwealth is an independent country or community. What is the idea of this 1935 Philippine Constitution? The 1935 Constitution provided the legal basis of the Commonwealth government, which was a transition government before the granting of the Philippine independence with American-inspired constitution. The Philippine government system after American government. The 1935 Philippine Constitution is the 10-year traditional period of independence from 1935 to 1945, in preparation for the independence of the Philippines from the United States. This was created with the intent gaining the approval of the United States government, who was at that time occupying the country. Before implementing the 1935 Constitution in the Philippines, there were events that happened. First, Hair Hose Cutting Act, Butler Hair, Harry Hose, and Bronson Cutting, approved on January 17, 1933. This law promised Philippines independence after a 10-year transition period, but reserved several military and naval bases for the United States, as well as imposing tariffs and quotas on the Philippine exports. Harry Hose Cutting Act was opposed by Manuel L. Quezon for the reason that it was not stated that the United States will truly free the Philippines from them. So Manuel L. Quezon led a mission to the U.S. advocating for the passage by the Low Tidings-McDuffie Act. The Tidings-McDuffie Act, also known as the Philippine Independence Commonwealth and Independence Act, eliminated the objectionable provision of the Hair Hose Cutting Act. Drafting of the 1935 Constitution of the Philippines started on July 10, 1934 and ended on February 8, 1935, certified on March 25, 1935 and ratified on May 1935. On September 15, 1935, millions of Filipinos voted for the highest official of the Philippines, which are the President and Vice President, which was Manuel Quezon won as the President and Sergio Osmeña won as the Vice President. On November 15, 1935, 2 months after voting, the 1935 Constitution came into full force and effect. What is going on in the 1935 Philippine Constitution created? On the Article 13, the Commonwealth and Republic. On Section 1, it was stated that the government established by the Constitution shall be known as the Commonwealth of the Philippines. Upon the final of complete withdrawal of sovereignty and Philippines sovereignty of the United States and the proclamation of the Philippines independence, the Commonwealth of the Philippines shall henceforth be known as the Republic of the Philippines. Second, Philippines now have national territory. Article 1, the national territory. On Section 1, it was stated that the Philippines comprises all the territory ceded to the United States by the Treaty of Paris concluded between the United States and Spain on the 10th day of December 1898. The limits which are set forth in Article 2 of the said treaty, together with all the islands embraced in the treaty concluded at Washington between the United States and Spain on the 7th day of November 1900, and the treaty concluded between the United States and Great Britain on the 2nd day of January 1930, and all territory over which the present government of the Philippine Islands exercise jurisdiction. And now, the Philippines are now assigned for the branches of the Philippines. The 3 branches are Legislative Department, Executive Department, and the last, Judicial Department. First was the Article 7, the Executive Department. Executive Department is an institution that governs the state by implementing laws and creating policies and programs to respond on the needs of the state. Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the Philippines. Second, under Article 6, Legislative Department. Legislative Department, it is a lawmaking institution of the government known as the legislature. On Section 1, it was stated that the legislative power shall be vested in a National Assembly. Last, the Article 8, Judicial Department. It composed of the courts that interpret and apply the laws of the state. On the Section 1, the judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior court as may be established by law. There are a lot of changes. The suffrage. Article 5, Suffrage. Section 1. Suffrage may be exercised by male citizens of the Philippines not otherwise disqualified by law, who are 21 years of age and over and able to read and write, and who shall have resided in the Philippines for 1 year and in the municipality wherein they propose to vote for at least 6 months preceding the election. The National Assembly shall extend the right of suffrage to women, if in plebiscite, which shall be held for that purpose within 2 years after the adoption of this Constitution. Not less than 300 women possessing the necessary qualification shall vote affirmatively on the question. We all know that past women really don't have the right to do anything. They don't have the right to do what they want. But the implementation of the 1935 Constitution, women had given a chance and women had given a right to vote. Article 3, Bill of Rights. Section 1. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied by the equal protection of law. So, each person now has the equal rights to be protected by the law. Article 3, General Provision. Under Section 1, the flag of the Philippines shall be red, white, blue, and sun, and 3 stars, as consecrated and honored by the people and recognized by law. Section 3, the National Assembly shall take step toward the development and adoption of the common national language based on one existing native language. Until otherwise provided by law, English and Spanish shall continue as official language. On Section 1 and 3 mentioned, Philippines now have the recognized as the country with a national flag and a national language. The 1935 Constitution was interrupted by events of the World War II, with the Japanese occupying the country. But on the 1946, the freedom, the independence that the Filipinos really wanted was still granted to them. People in the Philippines are now living free from the colonizer. They are taking the advantage on the independence that was granted to them. They now have the language that they can freely speak with the recognition of its own country that has its own flag. People now have equal rights to everything, including the rights to vote, the right to protection of the law. And even the women can now run to the highest position in the Philippines. So, that's for for the 1935 Philippine Constitution. Thank you and have a nice day.
So, good morning everyone. Today I will tackle to you all about the 1943 Constitution. So, the 1943 Constitution to 1945 Constitution, for example, this version of the Constitution begins with the Republic and enumerations of the 3 branches of government. So, the Bill of Rights was renamed to Duties and Rights of the Citizen. So, the 1943 Constitution is also the shortest Philippine Constitution that only contains 12 articles. So, in 1943 Constitution, the Filipino people, imploring the aid of divine providence and desiring to lead a free national existence, do hereby proclaim their independence. And in order to establish a government that shall promote the general welfare, conserve and develop the patrimony of the nations, and contribute to the creations of the world. So the 1943 Constitution was approved by the Preparatory Committee on Philippine Independence. So this was on September 4, 1943 and ratified by the Calibapi Conventions on September 7, 1943. So the 1935 Constitution has amended on June 18, 1940 and on March 11, 1947. So the president here in 1943 Constitution was Jose P. Laurel, in which a draft constitution was formed by the preparatory commissions for the independence consisting of 20 members of Calibapi, in which Jose P. Laurel presented the draft constitution, and on 3 days later, the Calibapi General Assembly ratified that draft constitution. So the Article 1 of the 1943 Constitution of the Philippines is all about the Republic of the Philippines. The government established by this constitution shall be known as the Republic of the Philippines. So Section 2 of the Article 1 is all about the Republic of the Philippines shall exercise sovereignty over the national territory as at present defined by law. So in the Article 1 has two fundamental principles, in which number one, the name of the government. So in this constitution, it specifies that the government established by it shall be known as the Republic of the Philippines. So this declaration signifies that the nature of the political entity formed by the constitutions and underscores the republican form of government adopted by the Philippines. So number two is all about the sovereignty over the national territory. So in this constitution, it asserts that the Republic of the Philippines shall exercise sovereignty over the national territory as defined by law. So this reaffirms the country's authority control over its entire territory, in which it includes both land and maritime areas, in which it emphasizes the importance of adhering the existing law regarding the definitions and delineations of the national territory. So overall, these provisions highlights the foundational principles of the Philippine government and its commitment to maintaining sovereignty and territorial integrity as outlined in its constitution. So the Article 2 of the 1943 Philippine Constitution is about the National Assembly shall be composed of the provincial governors and city mayors as members of the ex officio and of delegates to be elected every 3 years of one from each of every province and chartered city. So in this, there are key aspects of political process in which outlined in this constitution. So it is likely pertaining the convening of First National Assembly in the Republic of the Philippines. So here are some the provisions of constitution. So number one, democratic process. So this idea that the members of the National Assembly are responsible for electing the president reinforces the democratic principles within the government structure. So this process suggests that the head of the state is chosen by the representative elected by the people. So it emphasizes the democratic and participatory form of government. So legal framework and organization. So the mention of the assembly convening a place at date fixed by law underscores the importance of a legal framework in organizing political events. So it ensures that the election of the president follows a structured and lawful process in which promoting transparency and legitimacy in the selection of the country's leaders. So immediate action. So the phrase immediately after its organizations highlights the swift nature of the process, which it is intended to ensure a smooth transition and the prompt establishment of the executive branch, demonstrating a commitment to efficient and effective governance. So the Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution is all about the legislature. So legislature, no person may be elected president unless he be or a national born citizens of the Philippines. So in the legislature, the 1943 Philippine Constitution provide a strong executive powers in which the legislature consisted of an unicameral National Assembly, and only those considered to be anti-US could stand for election. So in this, although in practice most legislatures were appointed rather than elected. So next is Section 4, the President shall hold office during the term. So the sa Section 4 is all about sa katong connected ra gyapon siya sa Section 3, in which an Article 4 is all about sa it's all about sa judiciary. So the National Assembly shall have the power to define, prescribe, and apportion the jurisdiction of the various courts, but may not deprive the Supreme Court of this original jurisdiction. So over cases of affecting ambassadors, diplomatic ministers, and consuls, nor of its jurisdiction. So to review, revise, reverse, modify, or affirm on appeal of as the law on the rules of court may provide final cases in which the decrees of inferior courts in all cases is regulations to the questions of in which jurisdictions of any court is an issue, or where only errors, questions of law are involved. So the Article 5 of the 1943 Philippine Constitution is all about the impeachment, in which the President and the Justices of the Supreme shall be removed from the office on impeachment. So it is all about the convictions of violations of the institution, in which the treason, bribery, and the higher crimes. So next, this Article 6 of the 1943 Constitution is all about the citizenship. Before assuming the duties on his office, the President shall take the following oath or affirmation. So the citizenship is those who are the citizens of the Philippines at the time of the adoption of the Constitution, where the sila ang nag-neutralize in accordance to the law. So that's Article 7 of the 1943 Constitution is all about the Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution is all about the legislature. So legislature, no person may be elected president unless he be or a national born citizens of the Philippines. So in the legislature, the 1943 Philippine Constitution provide a strong executive powers in which the legislature consisted of an unicameral National Assembly, and only those considered to be anti-US could stand for election. So in this, although in practice most legislatures were appointed rather than elected. So next is Section 4, the President shall hold office during the term. So the sa Section 4 is all about sa katong connected ra gyapon siya sa Section 3, in which an Article 4 is all about sa it's all about sa judiciary. So the National Assembly shall have the power to define, prescribe, and apportion the jurisdiction of the various courts, but may not deprive the Supreme Court of this original jurisdiction. So, over cases of affecting ambassadors, diplomatic ministers, and consuls nor of its jurisdiction. So, to review, revise, reverse, modify, or affirm on appeal of as the law on the rules of court may provide final cases in which the decrees of inferior courts in all cases is a regulations to the questions of in which jurisdictions of any court is an issue or where only errors questions of law are involved. So the Article 5 of the 1943 Philippine Constitution is all about the impeachment, in which the President and the Justices of the Supreme shall be removed from the office on impeachment. So it is all about the convictions of violations of the institution, in which the treason, bribery, and the higher crimes. So next, Article 6 of the 1943 Constitution is all about the citizenship. Before assuming the duties on his office, the President shall take the following oath or affirmation. So, the citizenship is those who are the citizens of the Philippines at the time of the adoption of the Constitution, where sila ang nag-neutralize in accordance to the law. So, that's Article 7 of the 1943 Constitution is all about the sections Article 7 of the 1943 Constitution is all about the duties and rights of the citizen. So the duties, it is the duty of every citizen to render a personal military and civil service as they required by law, to pay taxes and public charges, to engage in useful calling, occupations, or professions. So the President shall have an official residence and receive such compensation as may be fixed by law, which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected. So next is the Article 8 of the 1943 Constitution, which is the conservations and utilizations of natural resources. So in this, all agricultural, timber, and mineral lands of the public domain, waters, minerals, coal, petroleum, and other mineral oils, all sources of potential energy, and other natural resources of the Philippines belong to the state, and their dispositions, exploitations, development, or utilizations shall be limited to citizens of the Philippines. So the natural resources, with the exceptions of public agricultural land, shall not be alienated, and no license, concessions, or lease for the exploitations, development, or utilizations of any of natural resources shall be granted for a period exceeding 25 years. So next is Article 9, which is the general provisions. So the President shall be Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces of the Republic of the Philippines, and whenever it becomes necessary, in this he may call out the armed forces so that the armed forces prevent the invasion, insurrections, and rebellions, in which these cases is for the safety of our countries, to suspend any privilege such as any crimes caused in the Philippines under the martial law. So Article 10 is all about the amendments. So the National Assembly, by a vote of 2/3 of its all members may propose amendments to this constitution, but such amendments shall be valid as part of the constitution unless approved by the people at the plebiscite of convention. So this is the especially it is the purpose and the date on under conditions to be prescribed by law. So the president shall appoint the ministers and vice ministers, and with the advice of the cabinet shall appoint ambassadors, diplomatic ministers, and consuls, heads of bureaus and offices. So this is the all other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided by law. So Article 11 of the of 1943 Constitution is all about transitory provisions. So it is the Constitution shall be ratified by the people at the plebiscite of convention, specially called for that purpose. So the manner of holding such plebiscite of convention shall be provided by law. So all laws of the Philippines shall continue in force until the inaugurations of the Republic. Thereafter, such laws shall remain operative unless inconsistent with this Constitution until amended, altered, and modified or repealed by the National Assembly. So the last article of the 1943 is special provisions. So special provisions within 1 year after the terminations of the greatest East Asia War, the National Assembly shall be provided for the elections by the popular suffrage of the delegates to constitutional conventions shall meet the later than 60 days of after the elections in order to formulate and adopt a new constitution which shall become effective upon its approval by the people at plebiscite. So the president, with the concurrence of 2/3 of all the members of the National Assembly, shall have the power to declare war and make peace, and with the concurrence of majority of all its members, conclude treaties. So a National Assembly shall forthwith provide for the elections of the officers under the new constitution and inaugurations of the government established thereunder.